Well, Mr. Bob Richards, how are you doing today, sir?
Oh, Michael, I am doing absolutely fantastic. Best day ever. How about yourself?
Oh, I'm doing great. And you know what time it is? It's time for another amazing mini podcast.
Whoa, really?
It is.
Hey.
One of the things I think we should talk about today has to do with open houses. I know there's some pros, and sir, instead of calling them cons, we'll just call them non-pros. So
Okay.
tell us a little bit more about what an open house is and what are some of the pros.
Well, the type of open house that I'm talking about today, Michael, are the ones that they're not the ones that people go in and walk through and get their refreshments, maybe a flyer, and are on their way. This type of open house is where realtors actually leave the house open after they've shown the house or even after having a public open house. So we're not talking open house like from 10 to 2 or 11 to 3 or whatever it might be. We're talking the open houses in which the a realtor, the showing realtor of the for the buyer has actually left a door unlocked, maybe lights on, maybe ceiling fans on, maybe they forgot to alarm the alarm, maybe they forgot to cover the pool, oh my goodness sakes, the back patio lights, the front outside lights, all of that. And so my main purpose of this mini podcast today is to talk about the reasons why agents do this and why they shouldn't do this.
Wow. So it's not really an open house, it's an open house.
Yeah, there you
And
go.
an
There you go.
unauthorized open house, which can lead to all kinds of interesting developments. Why don't you tell us more about that?
Yeah, so this is how Utah is a very tenant friendly state.
Yeah.
Well, there's another word for tenant that is not really authorized. It's called a squatter. And I think we've heard that term before, and that's not a good tenant.
No.
In Utah, you as a homeowner, Michael, could find yourself for 9 months to get that squatter who is trespassing at your home and in your home. It'll
Oh,
take you 9 months to get that house back and get them out of the house. Isn't that crazy?
that is crazy.
It really
Wow.
is. The rules and the laws and all sorts of it's almost like possession is 9/10 of the law. Well,
My
okay,
gosh.
they've got possession, but they're not following the law. And so that's a big concern. Now, do we have a lot of that around here? No. Do we though? Yes. And so it's again vitally important for realtors to make sure that things are locked up because we don't want squatters in the houses.
That's that's true. They can do a lot of damage, and they're not paying any rent, and they can run up a lot of bills. And I'm sure they could do a lot of other things. Maybe they could somehow go down to the county recorder's office and record something, because the county recorder will record anything, and before you know it, there's all kinds of mean, nasty, and horrible things that can happen when you've got a squatter in your house. So, what do we need to do to avoid an open house that's not really an open house to make sure we don't have squatters and illegal tenants in our properties?
Thanks, Michael. Great question. So the best answer I can give to homeowners who are sellers is make sure that you give full instructions, specific instructions, and demand of your realtor that everything is locked up after the home is shown. Now, that requires the listing agent for the seller to make contact with the buyer's agent or the showing agent to make sure that they are aware of the expectations. Now, it still boils down to the listing agent. The listing agent can call the showing agent slash buyer's agent and tell them off if they didn't do that. But really, ultimately, it becomes the responsibility of the listing agent. For me personally, Michael, I don't go home at night until I know that all of my vacant listings are secured. If there's been a showing that day, I will go to that house and make sure everything's secured, lights off, etc., before I go home. If I don't, then I'm like opening the door, literally,
Yeah,
to somebody else being able to access the door. They may damage it, vandalize it. They may, like you say, sleep in it. They may steal from it, and that just is not. It's not acceptable. It just simply isn't. Carelessness is crucial in the unsuccessful part of the transaction. You've got to make sure that you aren't careless, that you're to every point of detail in seeing that this house is secured. Now, if owners are gone out of the house for a little while the home is being shown and they come back, is that an excuse to have things unlocked? Absolutely not. But you do know at least that the owners are coming back.
Yeah.
But they can call and say, hey, why is my sliding back door wide open? And that those kind of things, Michael, you think, duh, but no, they do happen.
Yeah, wow. Really quick question before we
Yeah.
go. In a situation like this, does the realtor who left the doors open bear any responsibility if a squatter gets in there?
You would think so. Besides a chastisement from the broker of that agent, and maybe a possible letter of something that says, hey, what you did was wrong. They really don't. And
Oh,
that's what's sad is that they can say, well, sorry, and that's about as far as it goes. Now, there are rules of not letting people in unless they're accompanied by an agent and that kind of a thing. But if that agent does have people with them, yeah, it's on their shoulders, but oftentimes they don't see it as being valid or important to be on their shoulders.
oh my gosh. Well, Bob, you have just been a world of wisdom today. So if somebody wants to have an actual open house that's not really
Yeah,
open after it's open, how can they get a hold of you to set that up?
we love open houses, Michael. 435-703-8824. That's 435-703 Utah, buyutah.com on the internet. And of course, I'm with Berkshire Hathaway here in St. George. And love to talk with people about how best to make a successful open house with the public, but actual buying public and not those that want to stick around in the house for 9 months.
That's great. We'd like to also remind everybody to check out, watch, listen, and subscribe to Bob's full podcast called Let's Get Real. It's available on YouTube, also on his website at buyutah.com, and all the major podcast channels. Bob, thank you so much. We'll see you again next time.
Okay, Michael, thank you.